Hello, everyone, and welcome to Pastrami Paranormal, the Pastrami Nation podcast, where we talk about all things paranormal. I'm your host, Kevin, and of course, along with me today, Mr. Nolan Smith. How are you doing today?
Oh, fantastic. How are you, Hoskinson?
I'm doing great. And Rebecca Benson, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm awesome. And today I'm very excited. We have a very special guest. He was, grateful. Sorry, messed up a little bit. He was gracious enough to come onto our show today and talk a little bit about the paranormal, because that's kind of one of his areas of expertise. Walter G. Esselman is here today, and he is the author of the book Super Horror Max. How are you doing today, Walter?
Oh, I'm doing wonderful. It's Friday. We made it this far. So
yes. Yes, we did. Absolutely. So Walter, can you just start out just a little bit? So I'm really fascinated. We've talked about this before, but for people who possibly didn't listen to that podcast, can you tell us a little bit about Super Horror Max and what's it about?
Well, so this substitute teacher is driving a school bus full of kids out of a zombie outbreak and into what they thought was a safe place, which was a jail. Unfortunately, it's a little haunted. Okay, it's a little haunted.
A lot.
And actually, the genesis of this story came from Ghost Adventures. I kept laying on a couch watching the episode about Soundsville Penitentiary, and
okay.
And across the street of Soundsville Penitentiary are these cute little white houses, just boop, 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 boop. And you're sitting there and you're just like, so gothic horror show on one side,
right?
Americana suburbia on the other side. And I thought, well, what if people had to like rush in and hide there? I don't know if I'd want to. So it blossomed into this kind of really interesting story of this substitute teacher who is maybe a little more than he says he is, and this young guy, Max, who becomes his ally. And they basically try and protect everyone that they can. And they should have been safe. But unfortunately, things escalate. Even behind the walls, things go badly, and things start tightening up on them. But the substitute teacher, Mr. Lovecraft, is luckily for the kids, a undercover government agent. He was supposed to have it go and pretend to be a substitute teacher, eat some cafeteria food, suss out the place, make sure they're ready for a zombie outbreak. You'll be done in the day. You'll be home by evening. Yeah, that didn't work out so well.
Right.
It didn't even get through first period.
Right.
So and suddenly the race is on. He's stuck in the middle. This isn't even his area of expertise. He deals with another sort of monster, and so he's having to figure out how to drive a school bus, trying to get everyone into, as many people as possible, into this jail, which against The Walking Dead. So
right.
They should have been okay. But the zombies start mutating, and they're driven deeper and deeper into the jail.
Very interesting.
It was really interesting. It was kind of fascinating because I didn't plan it to go where it went, which was this father-son relationship that kind of develops between Lovecraft and this kid Max, and who's in his second zombie outbreak for the love of
second.
Yeah, well, Toledo, that's what happened in Toledo.
Right. No, I hear you on that. So, you have this these two different, you have obviously the zombie aspect and the jail, the haunted prison aspect of it all. I'm just curious, on your, you've talked about where you came up with the idea for the book as far as the Ghost Adventures go, but before that, were you always kind of fascinated by the world of the paranormal? Was that something that you've always kind of been, researching or read about and been interested in?
Yeah, yeah. I've always been, well, scared to death of it, actually.
Okay.
But uh, the but yeah, I've always followed along with that, and especially as I got older, I was always sort of fascinated in it. Actually, we even have a family ghost story. Um, my my grandmother um, was in bed for my mother was 1 years
Mm.
old at the end of the bed. This was early 1940s, and the father came in, sat on the bed, talked to grandma for a little while, and just catching up. And then he said he wanted to see the baby, and and then he left. And unfortunately, grandma found out about the time around Christmas that he had died in the Battle of the Bulge at
Oh,
that
wow.
time.
Whoa.
So yeah, and
Wow.
well, I don't know. That's
Yeah, no, I
you know,
think it's a very interesting dilemma. Like we're all, I think we're all kind of scared of it, but we're all always searching for the truth, searching for the answers, no matter, how scared of it. I know I personally, like, I'm scared to death of it, but it's also something that I'm like super fascinated by. And I've had my own little experiences here and there and stuff, but like nothing, nothing cement, obviously, to like say like, this is what it is, this is what that is, or whatnot. Um, so yeah, and I know Nolan and Rebecca too have both had interesting experiences, which we've talked about on the show before, and their kind of fascination with the paranormal as well.
I think
Absolutely. Yeah.
go ahead,
Being a
please,
ghost
Nolan.
believer is, kind of like I said before, it runs in the family. Like growing up, it's what we've seen our family members see. What's what my mom saw growing up. It's what we saw when I was a kid. Um, a whole bunch. I know Rebecca has her own experiences with that.
Yes. Oh, yes.
Yeah, yeah. It's to my knowledge, I've never seen a ghost. Um, but I think a lot of it comes from maybe even a deeper psychological. We just want to know what the heck's going on.
Mhm.
It's not unreasonable. What's
Yeah,
going on? We have this whole system in place, and it's like we have no idea what happens after. You know, we have
Good.
people have ideas.
yeah.
I have ideas. So,
What's going on? And I know that's something that Kevin asked me before about. Well, so what is a ghost? You
right.
know,
Yeah.
and so what do we think? What do we think? What is a ghost? Like, what? I mean, is it
I
is
mean,
it
yeah,
just
Is it
Not
extra dimensional even? Is it
exactly.
something that, you know, the whole ectoplasm thing?
Mhm.
I don't
Mhm.
know,
Mhm.
but if it was something even stuck between two places, you
Right.
know, that's possible, or something that's coming from the undiscovered country, as they say in Hamlet, from which no visit traveler comes back. You know,
Right.
that's the thing that it's always kind of fascinated me, though, is these stories and these kind of um, I've actually written a bunch of stuff with
Mhm.
this, and in Super Horror Mix, actually, in one of the characters, Patrick, actually talks about why he studies the paranormal, which is simply because it scares him to death, and that as we if we can understand it, if we can quantify it. I mean, if you have a less than one grade education and you see an eclipse right after you broke something, you're going to be
Right.
like, okay, the gods are really pissed at me
Yeah.
now. But we now know that it's just the moon and going in front of the sun, or thunder and lightning is just the natural effect. But this, on the other hand, is something that defies quantification, if that's a word. um,
I think so.
which is fascinating in a way. I would talk to my dad about this, who's a very serious science guy, about this, and because if we could quantify it, then we could understand it better. We could figure out what the heck's going on,
Mhm.
and there might
Yeah.
be several things going on.
Yeah, and who knows? Like, just out of curiosity, you said you have talked to your dad about this kind of stuff. Him being like a staunch scientist, or scientific method. What are his kind of views on the whole thing? I'm always fascinated by how they explain certain phenomenon that we don't necessarily have answers for, if that makes sense.
Well, uh, basically, his whole view was, there's no proof, that we've
Right.
never seen anything that even gives us the remotest little bit of proof. So at this point, it's all just, and we know in some cases it can be just in your head.
Right.
And I can't remember the exact phenomena, but you can actually see things that aren't there.
Mhm.
In several different reasons, but so pretty much we just banter back and forth, and he was kind of like, well, and once you have a way to quantify it, sure.
Right.
If Kodak made a camera that suddenly took pictures and you could see the spirits,
Right.
I always wanted to write a story like that. I always thought that'd be fun.
Oh, that would be neat. Like, I think I know what you're talking. Like, something like sleep paralysis, for example. People, they get under the spell where they swear they see things, or they swear they feel things, and part of me wants to believe that that's. I mean, as scary as it sounds, like that's the truth of it. Like there are these, weird spirits that are, malicious, and they're trying to harm you. Or, you also have the scientific explanation where it's just something that happens to your body while you're sleeping. And, you just imagine seeing things and your brain's working overtime and your body just freezes in a weird way. I always found those two kind of ideas very interesting.
Oh God, yes, sleep paralysis. Thank God I don't
Oof.
have that. That just sounds like something just completely terrifying.
Oh, it
You
does.
know, especially the whole, but interestingly enough, that sounded like, where a lot of the alien abduction stories came from.
Yeah,
Mm.
exactly. Yeah.
Um,
Oh, no, it's
you know,
fine.
we need Coke. Uh, um, and the thing is that I just try and keep an open mind, because chances are a lot of things are going to have a regular rational explanation.
Mhm.
You know, underground water. As they always say in the
Right.
old movie. Oh, it's just underground water. The pipes are making noises. Um,
Exactly.
but one has to leave himself open, because there is so much that we might not understand. That might be, you know, like people didn't understand the human body. Well, we don't even completely understand the whole
Right.
bloody thing. But the people didn't even understand how, cells worked, how diseases worked, that you should wear gloves when you operate on someone.
Right.
And so the question is it a matter of that we just don't have enough education yet? It'd be really funny if physics figured it out. So,
Right. Well, yeah, I mean, you would need something like that to get it all figured out, in order for people to take it seriously,
yeah.
because it is a very
I
what's that?
agree and disagree, because it would be great if we can scientifically explain everything.
Mhm.
My personal opinion, that's just not how the world works.
Oh no, it's not.
Um,
It's not.
there's going to be things you can't explain, and I kind of think it's the curse of humanity that wants to figure out everything, and I think from what I've seen and have been told from family members, like
Mhm.
things exist, and there's no possible way I could ever
Oh yeah.
rationalize what it is. But I don't know. I think humanity will always try to rationalize it, and that's always going to try to dissect every part of it. But I think bottom line is like something could just come out and hit Kevin in the head right now in front of the camera, and we're not going to be able to say what it is.
Yeah, please help.
Absolutely.
I hope not.
Kevin's like,
I'm cool. I'm cool, guys.
and the lights just
Yeah, host.
Oh, I love
his
those
light
kind of
patch is
movies.
going to be like.
Do you have any theories of what ghosts are?
So yeah, I do. I have an idea of what ghosts are, and it's definitely just my opinion, and it's based off of
please.
lifelong Catholic. I believe that ghosts, for the most part, are souls that are left here that haven't received enough prayers to make it to wherever they're supposed to make it. Because there's bad people in the world. And there's people that aren't totally bad, but aren't totally good. And that's why we have churches that say thousands of mass in people's honor and name every day, because people are trying to pray their way to heaven and pray them off of this plane. I don't know how that works. I don't know why or who or what, but growing up, that was always the thing. It was, maybe they need a few more rosaries to get to heaven. Because I've heard of really evil things, and I've heard of the majority not so evil things. And I think that's your experience too. Not so evil things that are, out there in the world. But what about you? What do you think?
For me, it's almost borderline like those who have been left behind, but not quite unfinished business. Like maybe they were here for a reason, like almost like guardian angels, because that was from my experience with kind of the paranormal things that were happening. Always kind of checking in, the opening and closing doors that I mentioned earlier. Just kind of, hey, you okay? All right, you're good. That's it.
Well, and it's good. It's not like, as you said, like it's not like they have unfinished business, because you don't want this like John Wick style ghost.
Right.
Unfinished business because he killed his dog. I mean, you stand no chance against him living. You're not going to stand any chance against him now. But
there's a story. Love it.
Yeah. Oh no, he's able to pick up a pencil now. We're all dead.
Right.
So.
He did it with a pencil. Yeah. One of my favorite scenes. He did it. Sorry.
That would be great.
You don't
want to understand.
But we don't see that kind of evil or vengeance too much. When you hear the stories, it's a lot like Rebecca said. Closing doors, opening doors, peering out windows, kind of just being there, but also maybe even mimicking what they did before.
Like the repetition?
The repetition, exactly. So, not to jump back into our first episode, but my mom saw a ghost when she was a little girl. And, my mom and my aunt. So, my aunt saw somebody by the window brushing their hair. And she thought it was my mom. And she was like, Sally, hurry up, and she's brushing her hair. And my mom comes out from a totally different room, and she's like, what? And they go in there, and nothing. All gone. Nobody's there. And it wasn't the first or the last of the, sightings there. I mean, there were like Abe Lincolns, and stuff like that. Talk about terrifying. If you have a freaking Abe Lincoln ghost.
Ooh, yeah.
Sorry. I mean, you're going to meet your in by Honest Abe.
Yeah, right.
That's just coming for you, Kevin.
It's like the shadow character in Bly Manor.
Is that
a bowler hat, yeah.
Oh, see? Nothing scarier.
And he kind of glided like right behind.
That's terrifying. I'm good.
Kevin right now. He turns around, all of a sudden his camera goes out, and we go viral.
Unfriended. So,
right?
Did you hear that noise? Luckily, I hadn't gotten anyone killed lately, so
good.
Should be good.
Hey, Kevin, you believe in ghost, right? Or do you believe in something else? What do you believe that is?
No, so I'm of two minds of it, actually. So I was raised Catholic. So of course that part of me is so instilled in me that like it kind of so it's kind of comforting to know if it's like loved ones or especially if they're around you. I do feel bad if it turns out to be like spirit lost souls, so to speak, spirits who don't know where they're supposed to be or whatever. I do kind of feel a weird kind of sympathy for those ghosts, obviously, because they feel like they're not necessarily in pain, but like some sort of anguish trying to figure out where they're trying to go. So part of me does believe that they're just spirits of people who have passed on and who are either checking on you or are lost, just can't quite find their way where they need to be. The other part of me is like, kind of the science nerd a little bit. And I do believe that people see stuff and experience stuff that they can't explain. But a lot of it is almost like that weird, and I know this sounds out there or whatever, but you had brought it up earlier, Walter, the interdimensional aspect of it all, and like how I believe in residual hauntings as well. Like there's this whole there's like this tape that's being played over and over and over and over again, and I believe that if say you buy a house, the same owner lived in that house for 50 years, had the same routine every single day. They got up, ate breakfast, read the paper, did all these things. I do feel like part of that energy stays there. And it's not even necessarily a paranormal or supernatural thing. It's just part of the fabric of our universe. And like, it's just kind of gets ingrained in the way our world works, if that makes sense. And it just keeps on happening over and over and over and over again until, so it's kind of that weird. So I believe in both. I don't know which one it is. And I think the whole fascination of the curiosity in me doesn't want to figure it out, because I feel like it'll be a little bit less exciting if I like, hey, like this is what it is. I'd be like, oh, cool. Well, all right. Hi, Casper, like it's hanging out. But it's like, at a certain point, it's just, I think it's fun to like ponder these things and wonder what they are. And as humans, we're curious beings, we want to know what's out there. We want to know the truth. And that's part of the fun of it. So that's what I think. That's a long way of saying that's what I think they are.
And you mentioned Casper. Come on, Kevin. You'd be scared to death if this big-headed ghost was haunting you around watching.
It's Casper, the friendly ghost.
He's a big-headed ghost that wants to do everything a kid does. You'd be scared to death, man. So would I.
He's charming. He's charming. He'll win me over with his charm.
Ask you if he can keep you.
Yeah, like you big-headed ghost. I think it's Richie Rich as a ghost, but yeah.
Right.
Sorry.
No, totally. It's the Casper as we see him. It would just be like, whoa, what the hell is that?
Yeah.
And all I can think of is Guillermo del Toro's Casper. The big sort of very realistic looking head,
and he has his eyes inside of his hands. He's like talking to you like that. Kevin's gonna have nightmares.
No, that needs to happen. That needs to happen. I'm waiting for that.
You know what? At this point, I'll let Guillermo do whatever he wants. I'm not gonna push him in any direction. Whatever you want to do, brother. I'll be there to watch.
Yeah, it's great work, and it's like
Muppet Baby.
I said Haunted Mansion.
That's always been a top thing for I need Guillermo del Toro to make a Haunted Mansion movie. Like that's
my
just
God. Yes.
Like
anniversary of the Haunted Mansion.
Crimson Peak.
Mm-hmm. Crimson Peak is close enough. Yeah. Crimson Peak.
It didn't work as well as I wanted it to. So unfortunately, I was, as much as I loved it, as much as I love his work and everyone else is in it. I mean, they're all great actors, but
I like his more fantasy themed stuff. So like stuff like even Hellboy had that fantasy element. Pan's Labyrinth.
Yep.
Man, movie's amazing, and like
I love that movie.
Yeah, Pan's Labyrinth. That's like a perfect, like kind of scary but not too scary movie. It kind of
the Spanish makes it scarier when that fawn starts talking in Spanish. You're like, oh dear God, like he's gonna.
It does. Man,
it's so good.
It's so scary.
Man, I'm a Devil's Backbone sort of guy.
Oh yes, Devil's Backbone, of course.
I think that's his finest film.
Ooh, yeah. If
To
he
do
did a
what?
prison movie, that would
Like the prison movie that we were
that would be epic. Yeah, I mean, because
different locations.
he's done things I don't care for. You know, he did Shape of Water, which
Oh yeah.
I thought was horrible. I drove so many miles to go watch it, and I came home so disappointed.
It won Best
Um,
Picture.
You know what? Well, that doesn't mean they know it's good. Birdman also won Best Picture. So,
Yeah, I like Best Birdman.
disgusting.
What?
Oh,
What's so
no.
wrong about Birdman?
Horrible.
Oh no.
No. Oh.
I'm in shock right now.
Yeah, we're gonna have a Birdman discussion.
At the Birdman, Shape of Water discussion,
Nomadland, and yeah, all those.
Nomadland, which have you? Nomadland's amazing.
He was ready to just lose it. He's gonna take off his hat and be like, "We're done."
No, Nomadland was fine. Gonna be honest, it was a weird year for the Oscars, but we're not getting into that discussion right now. That's a whole other discussion.
Well, we can come back. I'm more than happy to come back on that one.
Exactly. That's
After
what
I actually watch
love
any
that.
movies, so I've only
What's
seen
that?
Shape of Water. So,
Gotcha.
of those, and the only reason I had seen that one was because it was Guillermo, and I was like, well, yeah, I got to go see that right opening day. So, yeah. I'm writing so much, it's taking up a lot of my time. So, that and actually having a day job,
Right.
day jobs.
But
I hear you.
But that's kind of, on the other hand, that keeps me going. Finding out, thinking of all these interesting ideas. Like I think I told Kevin about the idea. I think I sent you the story about the lady
You
of
did.
the house.
You did.
That I always wanted to see some kids, trapped in a haunt. How would you get actually trapped in a haunted house? Because that's the age-old problem. Get the hell out of there. Come on, white people, go.
Right.
Exactly.
Exactly.
And Rose Red, they had the doors shut, and I've used that myself, but my idea was that what if you were quarantined in a haunted house? So yeah, so it's kind of like, why would you willingly go into some place that's scary? So
Right. No, exactly.
and that's actually another thing. At one point, Lovecraft, who fights monsters, with great zest and enthusiasm, is like, wait,
Cool.
what do you mean this place is haunted? What? Excuse me? And Max, who's like, zombies? No, not again, not again. Is kind of like, ghosts. Yeah, I can deal with that.
That's awesome.
But Lovecraft at one point just says, no, just don't go in the spooky basement. So no,
simple.
Yeah, don't. Come on, people, stop doing this.
Again, it's that curiosity factor, right? You always have to go into the basement to kind of like see. You have to know nothing is down there, and in doing so, you find out everything is down there.
David Sandberg.
What's that?
David Sandberg, who did Lights Out, has a short film called "Not Alone in Here," I believe it is. Magnificent. It's just they just did it recently. I happened to be looking at something else, and I'm like, oh, he's done a bunch of shorts, and it's literally the gal going, okay, hold on, you're an adult, well, let's do this rationally, and she basically does everything right, and but she doesn't step off the bed, and put her hand down, or
right,
easily, or foot can be easily grabbed, and those are the stories that drive me. Those are the stories that really, but it's also pushing yourself,
it is.
Getting into those, when you're in those situations, I think a really important part of horror is also, learning that you can survive those situations.
Right.
Learning that, Neil Gaiman said, we don't show kids movies about or stuff about dragons to scare them. We show them that dragons can be beaten. And sometimes it's actually, as much as I joke about white people going into the basement, you have to face your fears. Whether it's a dark basement or whether it's going to work in the morning. So,
Right.
and that's kind of one of the things that I think is really fascinating about, these ghostly stories is these people dropped into situations that are beyond their control, beyond their knowledge, very Lovecraftian even sometimes.
Yeah. And I think that's a lot of the reason too why we're all, such big horror fans, like me specifically. Like, so I tell my family all the time, they get scared of horror movies, even like the PG-13 horror movies. It's not for them. But I'm like, hey, like the whole point of watching so for me personally, the whole point of watching a scary movie and why I love them so much is that I feel like I'm putting myself in danger in a weird way, but I'm not actually in any harm whatsoever. And I'm able to face my fears. I'm able to, deal with the ghost face on and or the spirits or whatnot. And eventually, it's that battle of good and evil, eventually the good guys will win, I mean, that's just the way it always is. And whether you're watching a really good ghost story that's scaring you, it does show you how these really scary things can be defeated. Like you said, like Neil Gaiman said about the dragons, it shows that they can be defeated. And yeah, it's an interesting, that's why I love horror movies. And I tell my family that all the time. I'm like, look, like the whole point is to be scared a little bit, it's good for you. It gets the adrenaline flowing. It teaches you these lessons about life that you don't really think about, you know what I mean? Unless you're watching a horror movie, unless you feel like your life's a little bit in danger, you know what I mean? And you get scared, you get that adrenaline and stuff. And I love it personally. So
it's a safe way to get scared.
It is.
Instead of walking down an alley, which I don't recommend. So, especially if you have your wife has pearls on and you're coming from an opera.
Exactly. Don't do that.
That's how you become Batman.
Yeah. Unless you want your kid to become Batman, which actually I don't recommend. So,
I'm sure there's a ton of Bruce Waynes in the world, and none of them have become Batman. So don't do it.
Right.
Not worth it. Crime Alley is not worth it, kids.
Nope.
Just say no to Crime Alley. And I think but yeah, there's also an aspect of that too. And I kind of feel like this is something that I was working, kind of came out during the story, was that don't give up. Never give up, never surrender. The idea that you can face these situations, and I have to admit, when lockdown sort of hit, I was kind of like, okay, so you're in a horror movie. Okay, so
yeah,
first things first, what are the rules, first of all, be good to yourself, be kind to yourself, take care of others is the next rule.
Oh yeah.
Listen to the person in the white coat. So
exactly.
I got to put these on my website, because I actually wrote down a whole bunch of rules that, I kind of feel are in these situations. This is what, so I was actually not in a way that scared, because I was kind of like, okay, the first thing you want to do is not panic. It's not, don't, because that always goes badly. That's
right. Oh yeah, of course.
They're the person who gets whacked first.
No, exactly. So, yeah. So we're gonna start closing up here, and I was just wondering, one last question I wanted to ask you guys. Speaking of lockdown, speaking of quarantine, speaking of all that stuff, what would be your number one place that you would not want to be in lockdown for? Like, let's say you were in this place when COVID hit and you were stuck there for a whole year. If you could think of a famous, whether it's from a movie, whether it's a real life haunted place, any of these places, what would be one place you would not want to
I'm
be
trying not
stuck
to be
in
political.
quarantine?
Right.
Right.
Trying to think of something that we want. Gosh, you know, yeah. Well, haunted jail, actually.
Yeah, haunted.
Soundsville Penitentiary. I would not want to be in. And that was the genesis of that. But
Yeah, I was thinking about that too. I
No.
was actually thinking of Eastern State Penitentiary, which is the one I've heard, most about. With ghost hunters went there, and that was a freaking amazing. But that would definitely be one of the places, that or the Stanley. Well, it would have to be the Overlook Hotel from The Shining. So it's a fictional hotel, but that would be a nightmare to be stuck in for all quarantine. I don't know if I can deal with that.
I think I'd be more worried about who I was stuck with.
Yeah, oh yeah,
And that's
definitely.
Then that's what I worry about, is being stuck with someone who's
Mhm. Absolutely.
several sandwiches short of a picnic. So,
What about Nolan? Nolan, Rebecca, what about you guys? What would you guys say?
What was yours?
Mine was any sort of sanitarium. Mm-mm.
Okay, of course.
yeah, cemetery would that be? Yeah.
So, and for me, I'll give you two. One like real, one fictional. So one, of course, like any kind of like old insane asylum. Like I don't want to,
Oh yeah.
where they drill the head to let out the
Oh yeah.
nothing like that.
Lobotomies.
Two, I had to catch flack for this one.
Uh-oh.
I would hate to be stuck in Hogwarts. I mean, I think I would get bored to tears. You have all these probably old people ghosts trying to read you out of books or smoke pipes. I mean, no, I'd let whatever's outside kill me. You can't. I would.
I
No.
love that answer.
I don't know. As a historian, I would be grabbing my pen and paper or my quill and paper and being like, tell me everything. What did you eat for breakfast? What did you do? I'd be like, I want to know everything from these ghosts.
What are you?
No, I mean, I'd be like, let me spend eternity in peace. Get away. You stay in your corner. I'll stay in mine. Happy whatever day. Golden Finch. I don't care. I don't know. Yeah, do what you do. I'll do what I do. Let's wear a mask and 6 feet.
Right? Those are all incredible answers.
I thought you were
Mine
going to
is-
say all those kids.
all those-
around.
No,
You
you guys are
being
fine. That
stuck
was
in high
great.
school.
Oh yeah. Oof.
Ooh.
Being stuck in a high school.
I would love to be stuck at my high school. That was great. There's a pizza place nearby. There's a gym down the street.
But you wouldn't be able to leave.
I would leave. I would. If it's that or Hogwarts, I'm chancing 7th Street. I don't care. Yeah.
No.
Oh man. Well, I think that's about it for today, guys. Thank you guys so much for joining me, Walter. Thank you so much for joining us today. Can you just tell everyone where they can find you on social media, where they could find your books, your stories, all that fun stuff?
Yep. Super Horror Max is now on Amazon in both print and Kindle. And you can always come to waltergesselman.com, where I am trying as hard as I can to always keep the website up to date. So it's not as easy for me. I'm not a social media person. And you can join the newsletter, the Secret and Forbidden Ethereal Order of the Flying Blue Monkeys, which is going to actually have exclusive work every month. Is going to have stuff that is not available, well, at least unless you pay for it. So
right. Well, that's cool.
So, which is what I got to do this weekend. But thank you guys. I hope you guys get a chance to check out the book. It's really fun, and it's a good ride.
Absolutely, definitely.
Thank you. Really appreciate it. And of course, if you want to follow Pastrami Nation, we're kind of all over the place. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Pinterest, where we continue to grow like a wildfire. It's ridiculous. We're also on Spotify, Apple Podcast, iHeartRadio, which is a pretty new addition. And you can listen to your Pastrami Paranormal. You can listen to our podcast, Popcorns. You can listen to Kevin not wanting to be shut down. It's all there, all on.
Not wanting to be canceled. I will not be canceled. I did not do anything.
You can't
See,
stop the
I did
signal.
something. Listen to some Popcorn episodes. You'll see. But
Yes, listen
I
to
don't
them.
want to start. All right.
All
Fun
right.
time.
Well, yeah. Thank you, everybody, and we will see you next time. Take care.
You
Bye,
guys.
everyone.
Bye.
Bye.